From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive. I'm Jonah Klein. Today is February 5th, and we're starting with a document that didn't just rebuild a country. It kind of changed what constitutions could be. Mexico's 1917 Constitution, ratified in Querétaro during the Mexican Revolution.
I'm Maya Kim. We'll break down why that constitution is often described as the first in the world to spell out social rights and what that looked like on the ground. Land reform, labor protections, and secular public education, things that still shape Mexico today.
Let's start in Querétaro in 1917, because this is one of those moments where law and public health really overlap. The rules of a society shape who gets education, protections at work, and access to basic opportunity. On February 5, 1917, the Constitution of Mexico was ratified by the Constitutional Congress in Querétaro, right in the middle of the Mexican Revolution. The headline here is it's widely recognized as the first constitution anywhere to explicitly lay out social rights, not just political ones.
Yeah, because a lot of earlier constitutions were focused on government structure and individual liberties in a narrower sense. Mexico's 1917 document went further, spelling out obligations and guarantees tied to daily life, education, working conditions, and land, and it became a template later reformers around the world looked to.
President Venustiano Carranza is central here. After years of civil upheaval, he wanted to legitimize the revolutionary state through a new constitution and an elected framework. So, a constitutional convention met in Santiago de Querétaro, bringing in a new political class, often middle-class reformers, to write what became a pretty forward-leaning document.
And what's striking is how specific some of these rights got. It's a long constitution with a lot of articles, but three stand out in the social rights conversation. Articles 3, 27, and 123. Education, land, and labor. Basically, the foundations of stability and health in a society.
Article 3 is the education piece. Free, obligatory, secular public education, explicitly separated from clerical supervision. In plain terms, the state is saying education is a right, and it's not going to be administered by the church. That separation of church and state is one of the big promises people associate with 1917.
Article 27 is the land reform engine. It asserted national authority over land and subsoil resources and pushed the idea of returning lands taken from peasant communities, including lands that might not have formal written titles. That's a major power shift away from entrenched landholding structures and toward communal and public claims.
Then Article 23 reads like a labor rights starter pack for the modern era: an 8-hour workday, a 6-day work week, minimum wage concepts, equal pay for equal work, and the explicit right to organize, bargain collectively, and strike. It's basically saying the economy doesn't get to run on unlimited hours and disposable workers.
The impact is kind of twofold. First, it puts social welfare and economic fairness into constitutional language, which is harder to ignore than a temporary policy. Second, it raised expectations, even if implementation took decades. The promises were sweeping, but making them real across a fractured country is a long, uneven process.
Okay, from a constitution that tried to redefine rights, let's shift to three people born on February 5th who each, in their own lane, changed what leadership and excellence looked like in civic life, in sports as a civil rights stage, and in the globalized era of elite athletics.
First up is John Witherspoon, born in 1723. He was a Scottish-American minister and academic who became president of Princeton University and, notably, a signer of the Declaration of Independence. That combination matters. Education and public life weren't separate worlds for him.
Witherspoon's significance is partly institutional. As Princeton's president, he shaped how civic leadership was taught and imagined. And as a declaration signer, he's not just studying the idea of a new nation, he's literally helping authorize it. That's the kind of resume that turns a university into a political training ground.
Next is Hank Aaron, born in 1934, an American baseball legend who held Major League Baseball's home run record for 33 years. His story is not only athletic excellence, but also the pressure and symbolism that can come with breaking a record once treated as untouchable.
Right, and Aaron is also remembered as a civil rights icon. When sports milestones happen in a charged social environment, they become bigger than the box score. His career is a reminder that cultural change often shows up in everyday spaces, like stadiums, where millions are watching who gets celebrated and why.
And then we have Cristiano Ronaldo, born in 1985, a Portuguese professional footballer widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time and a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. His significance is modern, global, and measurable, sustained elite performance at a scale that's hard to replicate.
Right, and Ronaldo also represents the era where sports excellence is inseparable from worldwide attention. Even if you don't follow football closely, you've probably seen how his achievements travel instantly across platforms, turning individual performance into a global cultural product.
Putting these birthdays together, I hear a theme: systems and standards. Witherspoon shaped civic education, Aaron shifted what was considered possible and who could be centered, and Ronaldo shows how excellence scales globally when the whole world is watching.
Now for the fact of the day, and this one is basically sitting on your desk, in your car, and in old family photos. Bakelite. On February 5th, 1909, Belgian chemist Leo Baekeland announced Bakelite at a meeting of the American Chemical Society.
Bakelite is often described as the world's first synthetic plastic, and it helped usher in the modern age of plastics. It wasn't just a lab curiosity. It became a practical, everyday material, known for durability and that distinctive brown or orange look.
The examples really make it click. Radios, telephone casings, jewelry, even billiard balls. It's the kind of breakthrough that quietly redraws manufacturing, because once you can mold a reliable synthetic material at scale, you change what products can be made and how affordable they can become.
And it also sets up a long arc we still live with. When a material becomes ubiquitous, society gains convenience and new tools, but also inherits responsibility for how that material is produced, used, and managed over time. Bakelite is sort of an origin point for that modern relationship with plastics.
So today's thread is pretty tight. A constitution that expanded the idea of rights, leaders and icons who shaped public life and culture, and a material invention that reshaped the stuff of everyday living.
And if you remember one headline from February 5th, it's this: Mexico's 1917 Constitution, ratified in Querétaro, set a global precedent by writing social rights into foundational law, including land reform, workers' rights, and secular education that still matter today.
That's it for Deep Dive. I'm Jonah Klein.
I'm Maya Kim. For more, head to deepdive.neuralnewscast.com, and we'll see you next time. Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.